Hey guys, welcome back. Stoney Creek here. You know, we've got a lot of stuff going on here on the farm, but sometimes you just have to make some time to do some things. Stick around. Let me show you what I'm going to find the time to do. So it seems like there's never enough time in the day to do anything. We finally have a fairly decent day here on the farm. It's supposed to rain again tomorrow, so I don't want to get too involved in some other projects. But I've had a project that I've been thinking about for a while, and I really need to get this done, and I'll tell you why at the end of the video. But I figured while I was doing this, it's going to be pretty noisy with this saw going and some of the other pieces of equipment. I figured I would talk about some time. But before we get started, we've got an old piece of metal here that we're going to use, a corrugated barn tin. I found an old picket laying out in the yard. So this is going to be a pretty inexpensive project to do, and hopefully y'all will enjoy watching me make it.
Time flies, time heals all wounds, time is infinite. Time is relative. Saying that something is relative is the opposite of saying that it's absolute, meaning that its value has no set basis for comparison. Clinging on to the past and living is like driving forward while watching out the rearview mirror. Time is relative is a way of saying that sometimes time seems to pass incredibly slowly, like when you're bored, and other times it flies right by, like when you're having fun, or when you feel as though there's so much to do and so little time to do it in. Alternatively, if referencing longer time frames, another example is that 2 weeks in the life of an insect is a lot of time. It could be half their lifespan, whereas 2 weeks in the life of a giant tree is almost nothing, just a drop in the bucket to some trees' lifespans. Speaking of trees, why was the tree excited about the future? It was ready to turn over a new leaf. So we can see what is considered a long time depends entirely upon what you're talking about. Time is meaningless, yet all that exists, or another way to say it, we are slaves to time. Do you set your alarm to get up in the morning? Do you punch a time clock? What happens if you're late for work? How about late for that dinner date? I find it easy to get caught up with the time struggle. I'm not alone in finding the balance of time. Projects that need to get done on the farm, caring for the animals and meeting their needs, while also meeting the needs of my family. Granted, I am self-employed. My work is out here on the farm. I do, however, still have time commitments. I find it hard at times to balance, well, time. Time is defined as a system of those sequential relations that any event has to any other, as past, present, or future. Indefinite and continuous duration regarded as that in which events succeed one another. How we manage time is completely up to us on what gets the priority. Take time to relax, especially when you don't have time for it. How do we harness time? With a clock. The clock is an instrument for measuring or indicating time, especially a mechanical device having a numbered dial and moving hands. C.S. Lewis is quoted, "You can't go back and change the beginning, but you start where you are and change the ending." What changes are you considering now to ensure you're on the right path? Learn from yesterday, live for today, and have hope for tomorrow. And before anyone asks for instructions or plans, I built this as I went along. No written plans. No one's got time for that.
Well guys, we've got a clock. The only thing we'll have to do now is get it hung up on the wall. Now of course this isn't anything fancy. It's just made out of a lot of scrap that we had around here, minus the clock guts themselves. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching this as much as I've had fun making this. And now we can put time in a little bit of perspective. Now speaking of time, next week is the wife's birthday. So guess what she's getting, but don't tell her. And as always, I appreciate you guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next video.